Today on PimFim, let's talk about my grandpa. This is Chris. Let's go. Since graduating college, well, more specifically, since moving out of my parents' house, which unfortunately didn't happen at exactly the same time, I have not gotten to go on a lot of the trips that my parents and other family members have gone on. So that's mostly meant missing visits to grandparents, whether that's going to our family's cabin in Coeur d'Alene and seeing my dad's mom, or going to Mexico to visit my mom's dad. I've missed some of those trips, and it's sometimes been because I had other things going on, but it's mostly been for financial reasons. And most specifically, what that means is not that I couldn't afford to go, because for the most part my parents are willing to pay for those trips, but it's meant that I had to go to work during those times and I couldn't afford or wasn't allowed to miss that many days. That's been unfortunate. It's meant I see a lot less of my grandparents. Because those trips are tied around my grandparents so much, it means that the trips are a little bit less flexible than the other types of vacations that I take. And they're also a bit of a ways away, so a weekend vacation doesn't really work. And so what that's meant is that I haven't seen my grandfather since my sister got married. That's been a while. And part of the way my anxiety works is that the longer I go between seeing somebody, the less likely I am to ever try to contact that person again. So shortly after my sister's wedding, having seen my grandpa and talked to him a little bit, I probably would have been more likely to visit him again. But I also had pretty recently moved out of my parents' house at that point and was pretty confident that I'd just kind of run into him at some point soon. And so I wasn't in this place where I was gonna try to make a visit. And now I'm kind of at a point where my visits to see my grandpa are pretty much gonna have to be me making the effort to go see him. And that's harder for me to convince myself to do. And again, that's partly just because of my social anxiety. The concept of, I have not reached out to this person in a while, aren't they gonna think it's weird when I suddenly do? That plays a big role. But also, my grandfather and I are very similar in that we're both very quiet people who like to lead our lives in pretty particular ways, and in a lot of ways we match up, but in some ways we don't. But more specifically, what I was worried about was just not having anything to talk about. I'm gonna go visit him and just spend an awkward weekend not knowing what to do with myself. And again, some of our interests are so different that what are we gonna do? He loves golf. That is his big activity that he loves to do, and I am not a golf fan. So, all of that is a lead up to, I visited my grandpa this weekend, and I only spent one evening and one morning with him, and I wish I'd gotten to spend more time. And I hope to see him again soon. So Lauren and I went to a craft fair. It was very successful. It was in Portland, and it was her first craft fair in Portland, and obviously mine as well. We definitely want to go back, and it was also a really good reminder that this is a good environment for Lauren's crafts, and actually might be a really good environment for some of the stuff that Lauren used to do, like needle felting. So it's got Lauren pretty motivated. She's looking at some other crafters and trying to get inspiration from them for larger craft shows like this. Lauren's really learning, okay, this is the stuff that works at a small craft show, and this is stuff that works at a large craft show. And still wanting to do both, still thinks that the small craft shows are worth our time, but Lauren's really starting to learn the differences and what we can bring to some and what we can bring to others. And that's really cool. We had originally thought we might come down on Friday, spend the night with my grandpa, wake up, go to the craft show, set up on Saturday, come back to my grandpa Saturday night, leave on Sunday, and go back home. We ended up deciding that we wanted to just go straight down on Saturday morning, and that worked out well. But again, part of why I made that decision was just I was a little bit nervous about spending that much time with my grandpa. What were we possibly going to talk about? Again, he's a pretty quiet person. I'm a pretty quiet person. And I got, again, nervous, scared that it was just going to be an awkward 2 days of hanging out with him and feeling like I was a burden on him or something like that. And then we got there that night, and we had a great conversation, just catching up, really. And then the next morning, we had another really great conversation, and again, just catching up. It's been enough years, and also there's just, enough things that we haven't talked about from the rest of our lives that there was plenty to talk about, plenty to keep us occupied. And, the trip was really just a reminder that my anxieties are anxieties. They're not truths. Those fears are often not very well founded. Future me, again, I do hope to go visit my grandpa again soon. I still don't think I am quite friendly enough with him that I want to make a visit that is just that. But I would like to, go to Portland and spend another evening with him in the near future. So, future me, have you done that?